Imagine being 100 feet beneath the jagged crust of Jerusalem in 701 BCE. The air is a thick soup of limestone dust and carbon dioxide. Your torch is dying. If you stop digging, your city dies. If you dig in the wrong direction, you waste the final hours of a kingdom on the brink of extinction. You are part of a desperate engineering gamble. Two teams of miners tunneling through solid rock from opposite ends of a mountain, aiming for a microscopic point of contact in the dark. No GPS, no compass, no room for error. This isn't just a tunnel. It is a 1,750-foot subterranean artery designed to bypass a death sentence. History calls this Hezekiah's Tunnel. Skeptics once called it a myth, but today, the stones speak. This is the analytical breakdown of how a king's prayer and a 0.06% gradient slope defeated the greatest superpower of the ancient world. This is the intersection of impossible physics and divine intervention. Stay with us. By the end of this video, you will see why a hole in the dirt remains one of the most chilling proofs of the biblical narrative ever unearthed. The narrative body. The veins of Jerusalem. The immersive intro. A geometry of shadows. Close your eyes and descend. You are roughly 150 feet beneath the city of David. The air is heavy, tasting of wet limestone and the sweat of men who know they are being hunted. Above you, the sun scorches the Judean hills, but down here, there is only the rhythmic tink, tink, tink of iron against flinty rock. This isn't just a construction site. It's a race against a stopwatch held by an executioner. Two teams of Hebrew miners are tunneling toward each other from opposite ends of a mountain. They have no laser levels, no GPS, and no way to communicate through the mass of solid stone. If they miss each other by even 3 feet, the project fails. If they fail, Jerusalem dies of thirst within a week of a siege. This is the Hezekiah Tunnel, a 1,750-foot engineering miracle that defies the technical limitations of the 8th century BCE. The Assyrian storm, a superpower's shadow. To understand why this tunnel exists, we must analyze the geopolitical landscape of 722 BCE. The Neo-Assyrian Empire was the first true war machine of history.
Do not look back.
Think of them as the ancient world's equivalent of a relentless, systematic juggernaut. Under kings like Tiglath-Pileser III, they didn't just conquer, they erased. When the northern kingdom of Israel fell to Shalmaneser V, it wasn't just a defeat, it was a systematic liquidation. 10 tribes vanished into the mists of history, replaced by forced migrations. Now, the Assyrian war machine, led by the arrogant Sennacherib, has turned its cold, calculated gaze toward the south. Judah is the only thing standing between the Assyrian boot and the Mediterranean. The stakes? Total annihilation or a miracle. Hezekiah's gambit, the physics of survival.
Hear my command, advisors.
King Hezekiah was a reformer, a man who stripped the high places of idols and returned the nation's focus to Yahweh. But Hezekiah was also a pragmatist. He knew that faith without a strategic supply chain is a recipe for disaster. Jerusalem had a fatal flaw. Its only permanent water source, the Gihon Spring, sat outside the city walls in the Kidron Valley. In a siege, the Gihon was a gift to the enemy and a death sentence for the inhabitants. Hezekiah's decision was radical. According to 2 Chronicles 32:30, It was Hezekiah who blocked the upper outlet of the Gihon Spring and channeled the water down to the west side of the city of David. The command was given: stop the flow outside, hide the source, and bring the lifeblood of the city through the very heart of the mountain. The engineering miracle: 0.06% precision. Let's look at the data. The tunnel is roughly 533 meters long. If you walked it in a straight line, it would be much shorter, but it follows a winding S-shaped path. Why? Scholars suggest the miners were following natural fissures in the limestone, but the analytical marvel is the gradient. The vertical drop from the Gihon Spring to the Siloam Pool is only about 30 centimeters over 533 meters. That is a slope of roughly 0.06%. In an era of oil lamps and hand tools, achieving such a precise flow, fast enough to move water, but slow enough not to erode the rock or overflow, is staggering. In 1880, a boy swimming in the pool found the Siloam Inscription. It's a text etched into the wall, describing the moment of the breakthrough. It recounts how the two teams heard each other's picks through the rock and adjusted their course until they met face to face. This isn't folklore. It is a primary source document carved in stone. The warning: Isaiah's theological audit.
Behold,
but while the engineers celebrated, the prophet Isaiah was conducting a different kind of audit.
Glory will appear.
In Isaiah 22, the prophet looks at the new walls and the sophisticated reservoir and issues a chilling rebuke. He didn't condemn the engineering.
Harder.
He condemned the reliance on it.
Stuck on the
people
left
looked
side.
at their tunnel and
Almost
said,
there. Keep going.
"We are safe." Isaiah warned that they had looked to the replenished waters, but had not looked to the one who made the water. It's a classic human error, mistaking the tool for the savior. The tunnel was a masterpiece of human effort, but Isaiah reminded them that stone and mortar are useless if the heart of the nation is hollow. The siege: 185,000 reasons to pray. In 701 BCE, the nightmare arrived. Sennacherib's army, hundreds of thousands of battle-hardened soldiers, surrounded Jerusalem. They used psychological warfare, shouting taunts in Hebrew to demoralize the guards on the wall, mocking Hezekiah's God. The Taylor Prism, an Assyrian archaeological find, records Sennacherib boasting that he shut up Hezekiah like a bird in a cage. But interestingly, the Assyrian records never claim they captured the city. Why? Hezekiah, humbled by Isaiah's warning, went to the temple. He spread the enemy's threatening letters before God and prayed.
Hear my plea, Lord.
The Bible records that very
Grant
night,
your servant
the angel
mercy
of the
before the
Lord
king.
went out and struck the Assyrian camp. 185,000 soldiers died in their sleep. Sennacherib broke the siege and retreated to Nineveh, where he was eventually assassinated by his own sons. The tunnel provided the water, but the prayer provided the victory. From Siloam to salvation, the New Testament connection. The story of the tunnel doesn't end in the Old Testament. Fast forward 700 years to John 9. Jesus encounters a man blind from birth. He spits on the ground, makes mud, and tells the man, "Go, wash in the pool of Siloam." Siloam means sent. The water that flowed through Hezekiah's tunnel, the water sent from the hidden spring, became the site of a miracle that opened eyes. Just as the tunnel brought physical life to a dying Jerusalem, Jesus used the site to demonstrate spiritual life to a dying world. The pool, once a monument to national survival, became a sanctuary of personal transformation. Today, you can still walk through that water. You can touch the pick marks of the miners.
It stands as a silent witness. Human excellence is necessary, but divine intervention is ultimate. The blueprint for the soul. The management of dual realities. Competence versus faith. One of the most profound tensions in the story of Hezekiah's Tunnel is the balance between logistical excellence and spiritual dependency. For the modern leader, or the individual navigating a crisis, Hezekiah provides a masterclass in dual-track management. Hezekiah didn't just pray and wait for a miracle. He built a tunnel. He understood that God often works through human agency, not just instead of it. However, the pitfall, as Isaiah pointed out, is the illusion of the self-sufficient system. When our systems work too well, we stop looking at the source. The reflection. In your own life, are you building tunnels, plans, savings, career moves, while forgetting the spring, the purpose and power behind the effort? Excellence is a requirement, but it is not a savior. We must manage our resources with the precision of a 0.06% gradient while maintaining the humility of a man on his knees in the temple. The Siloam Inscription of the Unnamed, Leadership and Recognition. The Siloam Inscription is an anomaly in ancient archaeology. Usually, kings like Sennacherib or Ramses II would carve their names in massive letters, claiming all the glory. But the inscription in Hezekiah's Tunnel honors the laborers. It records the sound of the picks and the moment of the meeting. From a management perspective, this suggests a culture of shared mission. Hezekiah's leadership wasn't just top-down, it was a collective survival instinct. The workers knew their importance. The reflection. For those in positions of influence, do your inscriptions highlight your name, or do they celebrate the picks and hammers of those who actually do the digging? True governance is about creating a system where every participant knows that without their specific stroke of the axe, the city falls. Navigating the dark, the strategy of small gains. The miners could not see their destination. They worked in increments, listening for the muffled sounds of the other team through the rock. This is a powerful metaphor for uncertainty management. Often, we want the full map before we start digging. We want to see the Siloam pool before we leave the Gihon spring. But Hezekiah's engineers worked by acoustic feedback. They moved toward the sound of progress, even when the path was crooked. The S-curve of the tunnel proves they adjusted as they went. The reflection. Are you paralyzed because you can't see the end of your tunnel? Perhaps the lesson here is to stop looking for a straight line and start listening for the sound of the right direction. Progress in the dark is rarely a straight path. It is a series of corrections based on the feedback of the moment. The danger of the hidden resource. Hezekiah's strategic masterstroke was hiding the water from the enemy. He blocked the spring so the Assyrians couldn't find it. In life and governance, there is a time for transparency and a time for protected reserves. If you give away all your water, your energy, your deepest ideas, your spiritual reserves to the Assyrians of the world, the critics, the distractions, the drain of the digital age, you will have nothing left when the siege begins. The reflection. What are the springs in your life that need to be protected? Guarding your peace and your private walk with God isn't being secretive, it's being strategic. You cannot sustain a city on a surface-level puddle. You need a hidden, deep-seated source that the world cannot cut off. The paradox of the bird in a cage. Sennacherib's annals claim he had Hezekiah trapped like a bird in a cage. From the outside, it looked like defeat. The Assyrian system saw a trapped king. The divine system saw a protected remnant. This is the ultimate lesson in perception versus reality. A cage can be a prison, or it can be a fortress, depending on who holds the key.
Hezekiah's peace in the face of a 185,000-man army came from knowing that his cage was actually the palm of God's hand. The reflection. When you feel boxed in by debt, health issues, or career dead ends, ask yourself, whose system am I measuring this by? By the world's analytical standards, you might be trapped, but by the standard of Siloam, you are simply being held in place for a miracle that hasn't happened yet. The story of Hezekiah's Tunnel is more than a footnote in a history book or a dusty archaeological site. It is a living testament to a profound truth. Precision without prayer is hollow, but prayer without preparation is incomplete. Hezekiah didn't just hope the water would find its way, he moved the earth to meet it. Yet when the 185,000 Assyrian soldiers stood at his gates, he knew that no amount of engineering could save his soul. The tunnel gave them the means to survive the day, but their faith gave them the miracle to survive the night. As you navigate your own sieges, whether they are professional, personal, or spiritual, remember the lesson of the Siloam Inscription. The breakthrough happens when we stop trying to see through the mountain and simply start digging in the direction of the sound. What is the tunnel you are currently digging? Are you relying solely on your own blueprints, or have you made room for the architect of the spring? Join the conversation. If this deep dive into the intersection of archaeology and faith resonated with you, let us know in the comments. How do you balance your hard work with your faith in times of crisis? Subscribe for more analytical storytelling, where we break down the greatest mysteries of the ancient world. Like this video if you believe that history is not just a collection of dates, but a map for our future. Share this with someone who feels trapped in a cage and needs to remember that the Gihon spring is still flowing. Until next time, keep digging, keep praying, and keep seeking the truth hidden beneath the stone.